Fascinating creatures, Sub-Commander Kravix mutters, mandibles clicking as he studies the intercepted broadcasts. Look at this entertainment program. They fantasize about conquering galaxies, while their primitive vessels barely reach their own moon. Captain Vexorn circles the holographic display, his scaled tail sweeping across the immaculate deck of the inevitable Victory. The contradictions are curious. Their scientific broadcasts suggest understanding of quantum principles, yet their applied technology operates on chemical combustion. The Orcs had been monitoring Earth for months before making their presence known, standard procedure for assessing potential vassal worlds. Their cloaked probes had mapped defense installations, analyzed communication patterns, and compiled comprehensive threat assessments. Threat rating. Vexorn inquires. Minimal, Captain. Their most advanced weapons are nuclear fission devices, with no effective delivery systems beyond their own atmosphere. Primitive electromagnetic detection grids. No unified planetary defense. Vexorn's tertiary eyes narrow. And yet they survived their atomic age without self-annihilation. Curious. In the Mariana Command Center, Dr. Elijah Kassan examines the Orcs vessel schematics developed from passive quantum scanning. The aliens believed their ships undetectable, unaware that humanity had mastered 11-dimensional imaging centuries ago. Their hull composition suggests vulnerability to focused graviton pulses, he notes, manipulating the three-dimensional model with practiced gestures. Power distribution indicates 7 redundant systems, more than we anticipated. Admiral Chen studies the biological data compiled from long-range cellular scanning. Their nervous system evolved from apex predators. Notice the heightened sensory processing regions. They're hunters to the core, which makes them predictable. Kassan adds, all predator species follow evolutionary patterns. They'll seek to establish dominance before resource extraction. Lieutenant Sophia Chen enters the command center, her uniform bearing no insignia. Like all members of the Shadow Fleet, her official existence had been purged from public records decades ago. Mother, she acknowledges with professional formality. The Deception Division reports ready. All surface military installations have implemented Protocol Theta. Admiral Chen nodded. And the civilian responses. Global leaders are performing exactly as rehearsed. News networks are broadcasting increasing panic as expected. Social media algorithms are pushing speculation about alien intentions. Perfect. Admiral Chen turns to the Global Command Interface. Activate Phase 2 of the Masquerade Protocol. Let's send our first official transmission to our visitors. Aboard the inevitable Victory, the communication officer straightens suddenly. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the planet. Primitive RF bandwidth, unencrypted. Vexorn's mandibles spread in what passes for a smile among his kind. They've detected us, then. Excellent. Display the transmission. The view screen activates, showing a human female in what appears to be a ceremonial military uniform adorned with colorful ribbons. Her expression conveys controlled fear, exactly what Vexorn expects from an inferior species confronting its betters. Greetings, visitors. The human begins, her voice steady despite the fear signals her body language conveys. I am Admiral Helena Chen of Earth's Unified Defense Command. We detect your vessels in our solar system and extend peaceful greetings. Vexorn chittered with amusement. Inform the Confederation Council we've made first contact with species designation H3291. Preliminary assessment. Minimal resistance capability. High resource potential. Suitable for standard subjugation protocols. As the transmission continues, the Admiral's carefully calculated performance unfolds exactly as planned, revealing precisely what the Orcs expect to see while revealing nothing of humanity's true capabilities. The greatest predators in Earth's history weren't those with the sharpest teeth, but those who mastered the art of deception. The chandeliers of the Metropolitan Grand Hotel ballroom cast calculated shadows across the reception. Every element had been meticulously staged, From the slightly outdated holographic displays to the intentionally inefficient service robots that occasionally stuttered in their movements. Earth's apparent best technology on display for their alien visitors. High Commander Vexorn towered over the human diplomats, his iridescent scales shifting color as he moved through the reception. 2 Orcs guards flanked him, their biomechanical armor humming with suppressed energy. Secretary General Okafor approached with practiced deference, champagne flute trembling slightly in her hand. "We are honored by your presence, High Commander," she said, her voice precisely calibrated to convey respectful awe. "I hope our humble reception meets your expectations." Vexorn's translator processed her words, his tertiary eyes narrowing in what humans were learning indicated amusement. "Your hospitality is adequate. Though I notice your temperature control systems struggle to maintain optimal conditions." "Yes, unfortunately our technology still has limitations," Okafor apologized, looking appropriately embarrassed. The environmental systems were, of course, perfectly capable of maintaining any desired temperature, but had been programmed to fluctuate within uncomfortable parameters for the Orcs delegation. Across the room, Lieutenant Sophia Chen moved with practiced ease among the servers, her uniform indistinguishable from theirs. As she collected glasses from a table recently vacated by an Orcs cultural attaché, her augmented vision captured microscopic skin cells left on the crystal rim. "Sample acquired," she subvocalized, the words transmitted through bone conduction to the operation team 3 levels below the hotel. In the subbasement laboratory, Dr. Kesson received the biological samples within minutes, immediately placing them in a quantum scanner that broke down Orcs' cellular structure to its component atoms. "Fascinating," he murmured as the results appeared. "Their neural pathways show significant electromagnetic sensitivity, and their cellular regeneration rate is extraordinary." A young scientist looked up from another console. "Their translator technology is based on principles similar to our early quantum field manipulators, at least 3 centuries behind our current capabilities. Which means," Kassan noted with clinical detachment, "their encryption protocols would be vulnerable to 5th-generation quantum decryption. Implement Protocol Whisper across all monitoring channels." Back in the reception, Vexorn was expounding on the benefits of Confederation membership to an appropriately impressed UN Security Council. "Your species will benefit tremendously from our protection," he explained, mandibles clicking rhythmically. "The galaxy contains threats beyond your comprehension, species that would view your world as merely resources to be harvested." The irony wasn't lost on the humans present, each one carefully maintaining their rehearsed expressions. "And what would be expected of Earth in return for such generous protection?" asked the Chinese ambassador, his question delivered with precisely calculated hesitation. "Merely resource allocation cooperation and defense integration," Vexorn replied smoothly. "Your military installations would host Confederation advisors. Your resource extraction would be optimized by our superior methods, a small price for admission to the galactic community." Secretary General Okafor nodded thoughtfully. "These terms seem most generous, High Commander. Of course, our planetary governance requires consultation among many nations. Our deliberative process may seem frustratingly slow to your advanced civilization." Vexorn's upper mandibles flexed in what humans now recognized as condescension. "Take what time you require. The Confederation understands that younger species often cling to inefficient decision-making protocols." That evening, as the Orcs delegation returned to their ships, Admiral Chen received the preliminary analysis in the Antarctic Command Center. "Assessment?" she asked, studying the biological and technological reports. Dr. Kassan's holographic projection nodded. "Standard subjugation protocol. They're following the exact pattern observed in their conquests of the Tellurian and Mesca systems. They'll allow approximately 3 months of diplomatic engagement before manufacturing a crisis-justifying military intervention. Then we have 3 months to complete our preparations," Chen responded, her expression resolute. "Accelerate Phase 3. I want every shadow asset in position when they show their true intentions." "And the Council?" Casson inquired. They'll be informed tomorrow. For now, let our visitors believe their performance is convincing. The greatest advantage in any conflict is when your enemy believes they're the predator when they're actually the prey. The Santiago Defense Base's secondary command bunker erupted in choreographed panic as targeting alarms blared throughout the facility. Colonel Miguel Reyes shouted orders into his outdated radio system, while technicians frantically worked antiquated missile defense consoles. All batteries, engage incoming hostiles. He commanded, his voice carrying just the right amount of desperate authority. Get those interceptors in the air now. Outside, precisely calculated explosions rocked the facility as Orcs energy weapons struck exactly where human engineers had designated weeks earlier. Non-essential areas detonated spectacularly while critical infrastructure remained protected by invisible quantum shields that dispersed energy harmlessly into subspace. The base's minimal defensive response, chemical rockets that couldn't hope to penetrate Orcs shields, launched with convincing desperation. Each one contained just enough tracking technology to convey Earth's apparent desperation without revealing actual capabilities. "Sir, we've lost contact with Pacific Command," reported a communications officer with rehearsed urgency. "European Defense Network is reporting total system failure." Colonel Reyes grimaced with professional conviction. "Send our final status report. Tell them we'll hold as long as possible." On cue, the bunker's lights flickered dramatically as another explosion rocked the facility. Emergency systems activated, casting the command center in ominous red lighting. 50 kilometers away, Lieutenant Sophia Chen crouched among apparent refugees fleeing through the Chilean countryside. Her civilian disguise was impeccable. Dirty face, torn clothing, the wide-eyed terror of someone experiencing alien invasion. "Please," she begged a passing Orcs ground patrol in deliberately broken English. "My children, lost in the city." The patrol commander barely acknowledged her, mandibles clicking in dismissal. Perfect. Their psychological assessment had predicted exactly this response. The Orcs treated civilians as irritants rather than threats, exactly the oversight humanity had anticipated. As the patrol passed, Sophia's neural implant captured detailed scans of their armor systems, weapons configurations, and communication frequencies. The data transmitted instantly through quantum channels undetectable to Orcs sensors. Patrol 17 analyzed. She subvocalized, confirming weapon capacity at 42% of theoretical maximum. They're holding back significantly. In orbit, Captain Nadia Volkov stood on the bridge of the ESS Intrepid, Earth's supposed flagship. The vessel represented humanity's apparent best technology: fusion drives, basic energy shields, and outdated missile systems. In reality, it was a carefully constructed prop designed to be sacrificed spectacularly. "All hands, prepare for final engagement," she ordered, her voice steady as Orcs battlecruisers surrounded her vessel. "Remember your training. Remember Earth." The ship shuddered as the first Orcs weapon struck, precisely where the hull was designed to show catastrophic damage while preserving the bridge module. "Systems failing, Captain," reported her tactical officer with convincing panic. "Shields at 12%. Volkov activated the ship-wide communication system. "This is Captain Volkov of the Earth Defense Vessel Intrepid. We stand against tyranny. We die with honor. Earth will never surrender tow." She cut the transmission at exactly the right moment as spectacular explosions rippled through predetermined sections of the ship. The bridge crew rushed to the concealed evacuation pod as automated systems triggered the ship's self-destruct sequence. As the escape pod detached, cloaking systems immediately rendered it invisible to Orcs sensors. The Intrepid detonated in a blinding flash, designed to scatter debris in patterns suggesting total destruction with no survivors. Inside the cloaked pod, Volkov removed her ceremonial uniform, revealing the sleek combat suit underneath. "Performance assessment," she asked her second-in-command. "Perfect, Captain." Orcs sensors registered complete vessel destruction. "Our actual defense grid remains undetected. Phase 3 casualty reports are coming in at expected parameters. Volkov nodded grimly. And the civilian evacuations? 97% complete before the attack began. The remaining 3% were either volunteers for the resistance narrative or unable to be extracted without compromising the operation. She closed her eyes briefly. Acceptable losses for the greater survival, but document every name. After this is over, they deserve to be remembered as the heroes they are. In the Antarctic Command Center, Admiral Chen watched multiple feeds simultaneously, her expression revealing nothing as the carefully orchestrated theater of war unfolded exactly as planned. "Status of shadow assets?" she inquired. 100% operational, came the immediate response. The Orcs haven't detected a single genuine military installation. Chen nodded. Then we continue as planned. The true war begins now. The Denver Processing Facility's assembly line moved with mechanical precision as human workers sorted rare earth minerals under the watchful eyes of Orcs overseers. Overseer Kralvex stalked between production stations, his biomechanical exoskeleton amplifying his already imposing stature. "Production efficiency has increased 7% this cycle," noted his assistant, reviewing holographic data. "The human workers are adapting well to the optimization protocols." Kralvex clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. "They show greater aptitude than expected. Perhaps this species has more potential than initial assessments indicated." What neither Orcs noticed was Maya Santos, the unassuming translator assigned to their supervision team. Her neural implant, disguised as a mandatory Orcs tracking device, recorded every conversation, while appearing completely inert to their scanning technology. As Kralvex discussed refining protocols with his engineering team, Maya dutifully transcribed their conversation, adding appropriate notations of submission and gratitude. Meanwhile, her implant analyzed the molecular composition of each mineral batch passing through her station, precisely modifying atomic structures in ways too subtle for Orcs quality control to detect. The shipment to battlecruiser production facilities contains the modified selenium compounds. She subvocalized, the message transmitting through quantum channels to resistance coordination. "Confirmed," came the response directly to her auditory cortex. "Projected failure of targeting systems will occur in approximately 3 months, 7 days." Maya acknowledged with a microburst transmission, then bowed deeply as Kralvex approached her station. "Is honored overseer requiring translation assistance?" she asked, her voice conveying perfect deference. Regional Governor Vexorn stood on the observation deck of his headquarters, formerly the United Nations complex in New York. The Manhattan skyline spread before him, partially rebuilt after the devastating initial attack. Humans scurried below, going about their assigned duties with apparent acceptance of their new reality. "Remarkable adaptation curve," he noted to his cultural attaché. Their productivity metrics have stabilized at 94% of pre-conquest levels. The Telseri species took 3 times as long to reach similar efficiency. "They seem to find comfort in order," the attaché replied. "Their historical records show repeated patterns of accepting hierarchical structures, even while theoretically opposing them." Vexorn's tertiary eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Have you analyzed their creative outputs? Their music contains mathematical complexities that seem incongruous with their technological development level. A common characteristic of pre-ascension species," the attaché dismissed. "Aesthetic development often precedes practical application." Later, alone in his private chambers, Vexorn studied confiscated human artwork with growing fascination. A particular musical composition, Mozart's Symphony No. 40, played on loop as he examined a Renaissance painting with all 4 eyes. Such contradiction, he dictated into his personal log. Their history contains cycles of self-destruction alongside moments of transcendent creation. Perhaps their conquest was too easily accomplished. He dismissed the thought almost immediately. The Orcs Confederation had subjugated 17 species across their expansion. Humans had fallen according to standard patterns, their resistance crushed, their infrastructure appropriated, their people subdued. 3 kilometers beneath Seattle's ruins, the true heart of humanity beat steadily. In vast chambers shielded by dimensional phase shifting, 10,000 scientists and engineers worked at quantum computing stations that made Orcs technology look primitive by comparison. Dr. Jana Novak adjusted parameters on a biological simulation showing Orcs neurological responses to specific electromagnetic frequencies. The targeted dampening field is ready for testing, she announced to her team. If successful, it will render their neural command implants inoperative without affecting human biology. Across the facility, weapons development continued at an accelerated pace. Graviton disruptors, capable of destabilizing matter at the subatomic level, underwent final calibration. Stealth drones no larger than insects were manufactured by the thousands, programmed to infiltrate Orcs ships and transmit complete schematics. In the central command hub, Admiral Chen's hologram appeared before the assembled project leaders. Status report on Operation Dark Mirror. The lead engineer stepped forward. All shadow systems are operational, Admiral. The Orcs surveillance network has been completely compromised. Their command transmissions are being intercepted and analyzed in real time. And the colonization intelligence. As predicted, they're preparing for permanent settlement. Population transfers from their core worlds are being scheduled. They believe Earth has been successfully pacified. Chen's expression remained impassive. Then we continue as planned. Let them believe they understand us completely. The greatest weapon in our arsenal remains their certainty that they've already won. Intelligence Officer Trillax's quarters in former Zurich were a testament to Orcs precision. Holographic displays lined the walls, each showing different aspects of Earth's resource production and extraction patterns. Something wasn't right, and that certainty gnawed at him like a physical ache. Computer, display variance patterns for Australasian sector, last 3 production cycles, he commanded, mandibles clicking in frustration. The display reconfigured, showing mining output from sites across Australia and New Zealand. The numbers aligned perfectly. Sequential increases in productivity, consistent improvement curves, optimized resource allocation. 2 perfectly. In 17 standard cycles of conquest operations, Trillax had never seen resource extraction data this clean. Natural operations contained random fluctuations, equipment failures, worker inefficiency, weather disruptions. Yet Earth's production showed almost algorithmic precision. He input his security authorization, accessing deeper data layers, cross-reference personnel deployment with output efficiency. Again, the pattern was suspicious. Productivity improved in perfect correlation with Orcs supervision deployment. When overseers were present, production increased by statistically predictable increments. As if they know exactly how much improvement to show, he muttered to himself. Trillax hesitated before accessing his secure communication channel. Raising suspicions without evidence would damage his standing, perhaps fatally. He needed proof. Request authorization for deep scanning equipment deployment to Australian sector. He transmitted to regional command. Resource anomalies require investigation. The response came swiftly. Authorization granted. Equipment will be dispatched within 2 cycles. 7-year-old Amir huddled beneath his desk as sirens wailed outside his Cairo classroom. The sound was familiar now, 3 months into the occupation. Orcs patrols passing through. Everyone knew to hide, to become invisible. His teacher, Ms. Fatima, continued the lesson in hushed tones. Remember, children, when the visitors ask questions, answer only what they ask. Nothing more. This wasn't just a school. It was one of thousands of cultural preservation centers disguised as regular education facilities. While appearing to teach basic mathematics and Orcs-approved history, Ms. Fatima was actually preserving human knowledge, ensuring this generation wouldn't forget their heritage. Amir's neural implant, disguised as a required Orcs tracking device, silently stored everything she taught. When he returned to his family's dwelling, the data would automatically transfer to the shadow network without generating detectable transmissions. The classroom door burst open as an Orcs patrol conducted a random inspection. The children froze in rehearsed fear as the aliens stalked between desks, scanning for contraband knowledge or unauthorized technology. "Continue your instruction," the patrol leader ordered Ms. Fatima, who bowed in practiced submission before returning to the approved mathematics lesson displayed on her tablet. 3 days later, Trillax's survey shuttle approached the Australian outback, advanced scanning equipment primed to penetrate deep beneath the surface. This wasn't standard protocol, but his instincts demanded investigation. "Begin deep strata scan of Sector 7, he instructed his pilot. "Focus on density anomalies and energy signatures." The scanners activated, penetrating the first 100 meters of soil and rock. Trillax leaned forward as the first readings appeared. There, that cavern system shouldn't. The shuttle exploded in a blinding flash, debris raining across the empty desert. From a ridge 5 kilometers away, a human resistance cell washed through binoculars. Their leader activated her communication implant. "Target neutralized," she reported. "Minimal collateral damage." Within hours, Orcs' security forces descended on the region, capturing the resistance cell after a brief, desperate firefight. The humans fought bravely but were overwhelmed by superior numbers and firepower. The public executions were broadcast globally the next day. Governor Vexorn personally oversaw the proceedings. "Let this be a lesson," he announced, his voice carried through mandatory viewing screens in every human dwelling. "Resistance will not be tolerated. The Confederation brings order and prosperity to those who accept their place." What followed was unexpected. Rather than isolated reprisals, Vexorn authorized unrestricted pacification across multiple population centers. In Cairo, Orcs forces surrounded Amir's school. The children watched in horror as Ms. Fatima was dragged outside. When she resisted, the patrol commander executed her with casual efficiency. The building was then systematically destroyed, with minimal concern for those still inside. Amir survived, barely, pulled from the rubble by emergency responders. As he stared at his school's smoking ruins, his tracking implant recorded everything. The destruction, the deaths, the casual cruelty. Data that would reach the Shadow Council within hours. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, the emergency session grew heated. They'd crossed the final line, General Santos insisted, fist slamming on the quantum-stabilized table. "We can't allow this slaughter to continue." Admiral Chen watched the footage from Cairo with grim determination. The calculations were always clear. There would be casualties, real ones, before this was over. "Children, Helena," Dr. Casson said quietly. "They're targeting children now." After hours of debate, the vote was taken. Chen input her authorization code, voice steady despite the emotion behind her eyes. "Initiate discarded mask phase 1. Shadow assets to deploy immediately." She paused, adding with quiet resolve, "And may history forgive us for waiting this long." Governor Vexorn stood before the holographic War Council, his scales gleaming a deep crimson, the Orcs color of resolute action. The destruction of Trillax's shuttle and subsequent resistance activity had forced his hand. "The human resistance has grown more coordinated," he stated, manipulating the tactical display to show attack patterns across all continents. What initially appeared as isolated incidents now shows clear evidence of centralized command structure. The Orcs High Command representatives studied the data with cold efficiency. The largest figure, Supreme War Strategist Frexor, leaned forward, his ancient scales bearing the scars of a dozen conquest campaigns. "Your recommendation, Governor." "Decisive submission protocol," Vexorn replied without hesitation. "Simultaneous orbital bombardment of all major population centers. History shows human civilization is centralized around these urban nexuses. Destroying them will collapse their remaining will to resist." After brief deliberation, the Council granted authorization. Within hours, 117 Orcs warships descended into low Earth orbit, positioning themselves above major cities worldwide. Weapon systems powered to full capacity, their energy signatures deliberately made visible to create maximum psychological impact. Vexorn opened a global broadcast channel, his message transmitting to all human communication systems. People of Earth, your continued resistance leaves us no choice but to implement pacification measures. Shelter in place and your deaths will be swift. In Antarctica Command, Admiral Chen received the alert. Massive energy buildups detected in Orcs vessels, consistent with planetary bombardment preparations. She stood before the assembled Shadow Council, her expression resolute. They've crossed the final threshold, she announced. All these years of patience, all the sacrifices, have brought us to this moment. Secretary General Okafor nodded grimly. The casualties from their first strike were difficult enough to bear. If they launch a full-scale bombardment, millions would die before we could reveal ourselves, completed General Santos. We cannot wait any longer. Chen activated the quantum-secure command interface. 7 leaders simultaneously input their authorization codes, a safeguard designed centuries ago to prevent any single person from wielding humanity's true power. Implement Lazarus Rising, Chen ordered, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of preparation. All units, execute with precision. Remember your training. Remember those we've lost. In orbit, Captain Nadia Volkov's command ship disengaged its dimensional cloak, suddenly appearing alongside 500 advanced battle cruisers, hidden in Venus's atmospheric storms. Her vessel, the actual ESS Intrepid, rather than the decoy sacrificed months earlier, bristled with weapon systems beyond anything the Orcs had encountered. Battle Group Alpha, target Orcs command vessels, she ordered calmly. Battle Group Beta, defensive screen around population centers. All units maintain phase shift protocols until engagement begins. Across the solar system, humanity's true defenses awakened. The International Space Station's innocent-looking solar panels rotated to reveal quantum phase cannons. Seemingly derelict satellites shed their outer hulls, transforming into autonomous weapon platforms. Jupiter's mining operations, supposedly collecting helium-3, activated their antimatter production cores, channeling energy to massive defensive arrays. On Mars, what appeared to be a small scientific outpost shimmered as phase shift technology deactivated, revealing a massive military installation housing thousands of advanced fighter craft that immediately launched toward Earth. From Saturn's rings, a brilliant energy beam lanced across space, cutting through 3 Orcs battle cruisers before they could raise shields. The beam originated from what the Orcs had cataloged as an insignificant ice fragment, actually housing Earth's most powerful long-range weapon system. Aboard his command vessel, Governor Vexorn watched in stunned horror as alerts cascaded across his tactical displays. Human weapons fire was coming from impossible vectors, from ships that hadn't existed moments before, from space stations that shouldn't possess such technology. Impossible, he whispered as half his fleet erupted into plasma within 90 seconds. His tactical officer's voice was strained with panic. Governor, we're detecting energy signatures beyond anything in our database. Their weapon systems are overriding our shields as if they don't exist. On his command view screen, Admiral Chen's face appeared. No longer the defeated military leader from the surrender ceremonies, but a predator revealing her true nature. Governor Vexorn, she began, her voice steady. Your ships are currently targeting civilian populations in direct violation of galactic conventions that even your species claims to honor. As she spoke, his remaining ships found themselves surrounded by weapons platforms that materialized from seemingly empty space, human phase shift technology operating beyond anything in the Confederation's arsenal. This is Earth's final warning, Chen continued, her voice carrying the weight of a civilization finally showing its teeth. Attack again, and we drop the act completely. The transmission ended, leaving Vexorn staring at the debris field that had been his attack fleet moments earlier, suddenly understanding that everything, from first contact to occupation, had proceeded exactly as the humans had planned. The surviving Orcs vessels limped to Neptune's orbit, regrouping around Vexorn's damaged command ship. Emergency repairs proceeded around the clock as the stunned crew tried to process what they had witnessed. In the emergency council chamber, scaled arms gestured wildly as accusations flew between military commanders. Our intelligence was meticulous, Fleet Commander Zexnar insisted, slamming a clawed fist on the tactical display. Every communication was monitored, every human settlement scanned. Their defense capabilities were documented with absolute precision. Intelligence Director Krelvor activated a holographic projection showing intercepted human broadcasts from the previous 18 months, news programs discussing budget constraints limiting space development, international squabbles over primitive missile defense systems, and entertainment media depicting space travel as aspirational science fiction. We monitored every transmission frequency, Krelvor stated, mandibles twitching nervously. We infiltrated their governance structures. We analyzed their defense capabilities down to individual weapon yields. A junior science officer approached the council table, waiting for acknowledgement before speaking. When Vexorn nodded, the young Orcser projected a detailed analysis of the human counterattack. Preliminary assessment of their weapon signatures indicates technology at least 3 centuries beyond our current development curve, she reported clinically. Their phase-shifting capabilities alone violate what we understood as physical limitations. They're operating on principles our science has only theorized. Vexorn studied the data with all 4 eyes. Everything was fabricated, he realized, a cold dread settling in his primary stomach. They created an entire shadow civilization beneath the one they showed us. As the implications sank in, the Orcser commanders fell silent. They had believed themselves to be studying an inferior species. Now they realized they had been the ones under observation all along. On Earth, a different revelation unfolded. In town squares, on holographic displays, through neural interfaces, Admiral Chen addressed humanity for the first time without pretense. Fellow citizens of Earth, she began, her image broadcasting simultaneously to every corner of the planet. Today the masquerade ends. Archived footage played showing the implementation of the Masquerade Initiative in 2173, the construction of the first underground cities, the development of parallel technologies, the global consensus to present a carefully crafted image to potential threats. 300 years ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected the first Orcser transmissions, Chen continued. Our ancestors recognized the predatory patterns of their expansion and made the most difficult decision in human history, to hide our true potential. In Shanghai, Professor Weizhang watched with tears streaming down his face. All his life he'd worked as a quantum physicist, developing technologies he could never publicly acknowledge, living modestly while his greatest achievements remained hidden from history. I never thought I'd live to see this day, he whispered to his grandson, who stared in awe as hidden facilities revealed themselves across the city, massive structures emerging from underground, advanced transportation systems activating for the first time in public view. Similar scenes played out worldwide as humanity's shadow civilization emerged into the light. In Mexico City, coastal waters parted to reveal a massive shipyard housing vessels designed for interstellar travel. In Kenya, what appeared to be natural mountain ranges reconfigured, sections sliding away to expose launch facilities for advanced spacecraft. The sacrifices of 50 generations brought us to this moment, Chen continued. While we presented obsolete rocket technology to watching eyes, our true vessels explored neighboring star systems. While we broadcast entertainment about fictional warp drives, our actual ships traveled through dimensional folds. Dr. Kassen, standing beside Chen during the broadcast, activated the global quantum network, instantly connecting all humans through untraceable communications that had always existed but remained dormant until this moment. From this day forward, we stand united in our true identity, Chen declared. We are no longer pretending to be less than we are. Earth's unified command transmitted its ultimatum to the Orcser fleet. You have 48 hours to withdraw all forces from this solar system. After that time, we will consider any remaining Arxer presence an act of war against humanity." On his command ship, Vexorn received an even more disturbing report. Somehow, humans had bypassed all Confederation encryption to broadcast directly to the Arxer homeworld. Be advised, the Earth situation has changed significantly. Request immediate reinforcements. His scales paled as he realized the implications. Humans had been monitoring and deciphering their most secure communications channels all along, and now wanted the Confederation to know it. For the first time in his military career, Vexorn felt a sensation he finally recognized as fear. Not of defeat, but of something far worse. The realization that everything he thought he knew had been precisely what another species wanted him to think. The Grand Assembly Hall on Arcturus Prime hummed with tension as 10,000 military leaders converged for the largest mobilization in Confederation history. Grand Marshal Vraxor, his ancient scales bearing ceremonial markings from 100 conquered worlds, stood at the center of the war table. "The humans possess impressive technology," he acknowledged, voice resonating through the vast chamber. "But they remain one world against our hundreds. Their deception ends today." Massive viewscreens displayed the approaching Armea. Over 3,000 warships preparing to jump toward the Sol system. The Arxer had never deployed such force against a single species. "We have analyzed their weapons signatures," continued the Grand Marshal, manipulating the holographic display. "Their phase shift technology provides tactical advantages, but must obey fundamental energy constraints. Our numerical superiority will overwhelm." His words faltered as the stadium's massive doors silently slid open. A ripple of shocked murmurs spread through the assembly as Admiral Helena Chen walked calmly into the chamber, accompanied by Dr. Kassan and 4 other humans. No guards attempted to stop them. No weapons targeted them. "Impossible," whispered Governor Vexorn, now demoted for his failure and standing at the periphery of the assembly. Chen approached the central podium with measured steps, her uniform bearing no unnecessary ornamentation, the confidence of a predator requiring no display. She activated her universal translator. "Your fleet preparations are impressive, Grand Marshal," she began conversationally. "Almost as impressive as how easily we neutralized your primary shipyards at Mentak, Volus, and Terrorist Prime approximately 3 minutes ago." The stadium erupted in chaos as emergency communications flooded in, confirming her statement. Their most secure military installations across 3 star systems had simultaneously gone dark. Screens throughout the chamber displayed the destruction. Massive shipyards reduced to orbiting debris by weapons that left no radiation signature, no energy trail, nothing that Arxer science could explain. Chen continued as though giving a routine briefing. "We've been studying your civilization for centuries. While you watched our fictional television broadcasts, we were mapping your empire, analyzing your vulnerabilities, and placing our assets." Dr. Kassan stepped forward, projecting a holographic display that showed perfect replicas of the Arxer homeworld's most sacred and secret locations, the hatching chambers of the Imperial Clutch, the genetic archives beneath the Southern Sea, the quantum vault containing the Confederation's strategic reserves. Vraxor's scales shifted to pale yellow, the Arxer color of profound shock. "You could have destroyed us at any time," he realized, his voice uncharacteristically quiet. "We could have," Chen acknowledged. "Instead, we offer terms. The Confederation will immediately cease all expansionist activities. You will release all subjugated worlds to self-governance. You will dismantle your biological weapons programs. In exchange, humanity will not dismantle your civilization." The silence that followed was absolute. 10,000 predators facing the realization that they had themselves been prey all along. A brave commander from the Eastern Quadrant found his voice. "Why should we believe you can enforce these terms across our entire territory?" Lieutenant Sophia Chen stepped forward from the human delegation. To the assembled Arxer's shock, she addressed them in the highest dialect of Arxer formal speech, a language variation so sacred that many had never heard it spoken outside hatching ceremonies. "Krevener Zith Valorn Eth Mekthar," She intoned perfectly, reciting the private birth names of every commander present, information so sacred that many had never spoken them aloud since their hatching rituals. As the delegation prepared to depart, Admiral Chen delivered her final message. Throughout our history, humanity has learned that appearing weak often prevents unnecessary conflict. We've been acting peaceful because we choose to be, not because we have to be. Her eyes locked with Grand Marshal Vraxor's. Don't make us drop the act completely. 3 standard cycles later, the Confederation Council ratified the Treaty of Seoul, formally recognizing Earth's sovereignty and agreeing to all proposed terms. The Orcs' withdrawal from conquered territories began immediately. In the generations that followed, Orcs hatchlings would learn the cautionary tale that reshaped their civilization, the day they discovered that in the cosmic hierarchy, humans had merely been playing with their food.